If you happen to be traveling through space near a bright yellow sun star, which is called by its inhabitants the solar system, if you're lonely and it's 1988, remember this: Earth girls are easy. One of the fun parts about being a science fiction nerd growing up in the 80s is I looked for and consumed through video rentals or otherwise everything that was remotely science fiction. It didn't matter. Batteries not included. I should do a review of that sometime. Great humorous story that happened to be sort of about aliens. I mean, it is sort of. Cocoon, which is a fabulous movie. I have talked about that elsewhere. Maybe I need to revisit the Cocooniverse. Cocoon, whatever. Earth Girls Are Easy is a really bizarre sort of comedy, romantic comedy sort of situation, but is filled with nods, with homages to earlier types of science fiction and an earlier era. Nothing quite screams it is the late 80s, like downtown Julie Brown in a movie playing a beautician who runs a beauty parlor. Geena Davis, who is our romantic protagonist, female protagonist, works at downtown Julie Brown's salon as the nails expert. I didn't show my nails there. Our three extraterrestrials are played by no less than Jeff Goldblum, Jim Carrey, who I was making fun of recently, and Damon Wayans as these very brightly colored, fur-covered creatures that are not quite Wookiee length hairy, but are definitely fuzzy, Ewok fuzzy, but brightly blue and yellows and reds and trying to remember what all they are. Their vehicle is very classic looking, though not a UFO like the early flying saucer movies. It's more slightly rocket ship. It reminded me of Flash Gordon's fighter rocket in the old black and white movie serials of Flash Gordon. They also have some interesting little tidbits that show up in early movies. The shrinking ray, it allows them to be, when the ship crashes, you think it's a big ship, but it crashes in a swimming pool. The people are, presumably the alien species, are roughly our size. They are quite humanoid, even enough so that they have sexual relations. We'll get to that. And yet being small does not seem to be their natural size. When they're leaving the ship, the ray makes them full-size, roughly human equivalency. But when entering the ship, you are shrunk down, which is really sort of an interesting science fiction-y application of something like Ant-Man's technology or, well, pocket dimensions that we saw in things like Star Trek Enterprise and elsewhere. It allows the ship to be much smaller in practical terms, and yet inside it seems bigger because you join it in this size. It seems like an important detail to include that isn't really like relevant to the plot at any time. It's just sort of neat, and there is a contraption, although it may provide a nice explanation for why their ship can be resting in the swimming pool despite its apparent size at the beginning. But all of this happens against the background of Geena Davis as the female protagonist. Life is falling apart. She is engaged to be married to a doctor, though the two of them are already living together and already having sex, or rather not, their sex life not living up to her expectations. As it turns out, he has been cheating on her and he is unhappy. He figures that he will eventually marry her, but be able to have flings with whomever on the side. It isn't really clear what he's thinking. He's not marrying her for her money. He's the doctor. She's a nail expert. It's not real clear why, if he's unhappy with her, he's so determined to marry her and then just cheat on her. But hey, who knows what's going through the minds of someone that is not morally centered. So all of this is sort of your generic romantic thing gone wrong. Doctor, nail technician, he's cheating. the marriage is off, or is it going to be off? Will they reconcile? But at the same time, the alien ship has ended up in the pool. The aliens meet Geena Davis, and after finally getting downtown Julie Brown to shave off all of their fur to help them blend in safely on Earth, they discover that they are in fact quite humanoid. They even make a ridiculous joke about the fact that Damon Wayans is black. Oh my God, you're totally black. I can't even do the accent very well. Topped off with a completely ridiculous song piece led by, it is kind of a musical, led by downtown Julie Brown singing about what it's like to be a dumb blonde. And wow, does anything quite date a movie like downtown Julie Brown singing a song on a beach about being a dumb blonde? It's kind of silly. But of course, all this leads to Jeff Goldblum, who apparently is like really handsome once his body has been completely shaved. He has a romantic relationship with Geena Davis's character. They end up copulating. There's sort of a nasty but funny part where he's stripping off his clothing. We don't see it, she does, and she's sort of babbling, I don't know, we shouldn't do it, we just met, we don't even know if the physical parts work, that could be a problem. Okay, that's not a problem. And then she goes forward. So ultimately, though, you are left by the end of the movie where there's this very irritating period of time in which there's uncertainty. It almost seems like Geena Davis is going to reconcile with her sleazeball doctor fiance. Let's be clear, there's no redemption arc for this guy in this situation comedy. He does not really learn a lesson. He does not come around to understand how wrong he was. And come on, given the nature of him as we learned who he was and what he was about, that's going to take a lot more than a movie to try to fix those problems. And maybe someday he'll treat a different woman right, but it would be completely unsatisfying for her to end up with him by the end of the movie. And they make you kind of think that's going to happen. Spoiler alert, because I always do spoilers. It does not happen. Gratefully, he is left behind with nothing but an empty pool and the cat. And she gets in the ship and leaves to live happily ever after with Jeff Goldblum, with no discussion of what it will be like when all of his hair grows back, or whether she will enforce her cultural prerogatives on this poor extraterrestrial and expect him to shave his body for the rest of their natural life. Things nerds think about. Scary, isn't it? All in all, it is not a movie that's going to win any awards, not even personally given awards. I had seen it on VHS tape some point in the late 80s, and it was entertaining. It's got all the 80s sort of things with the beauty shop, the dance off at the sort of discotheque, very, very 80s, almost just past break dancing dance club. A lot of parachute pants and shiny outfits and people that look like they're members of Color Me Bad on the verge of becoming the new kids on the block. It's really something. It is entertaining though. It's funny in places. It's kind of it's amusing. It's definitely worth seeing once. I can't believe, well, I found it streaming on Vudu for free with commercials, so I thought, I haven't seen this probably since 88 or 89. I'm going to watch it. So it's out there. It's entertaining. It's fun. The alien ship is kind of cool. Let me know what you think if you've seen it. If not, go out, check it out. Let me know what you think. Earth Girls. Are Earth Girls easy?